All right. Good evening, and welcome to the California African American Museum. My name is Alexandra Mitchell, and I am the manager of education and public programs here at CAAM. As always, we are delighted that you are spending a part of your evening with us. Tonight, you're in for a special treat. Before Talib Kweli became a world-renowned hip-hop artist, he was a Brooklyn kid who liked to cut class, spit rhymes, and wander the streets of Greenwich Village with a motley crew of artists, rappers, and DJs. He was part of the first generation to grow up with hip-hop as established culture complete within its own pantheon of heroes, rich history, and distinct worldview. Kweli returns to CAAM to discuss his candid memoir, Vibrate Higher, a rap story which illuminates his upbringing and artistic success while also giving life to hip hop as a political force, one that galvanized the movement for Black lives and serves as a continual channel for Black resistance. One of course, hip hop's most accomplished artists, whether working with Mos Def as one half of Black Star, partnering with producer High Tech for Reflection Eternal, releasing landmark solo material, or collaborating with Kanye West, Pharrell Williams, Just Blaze, Jay Dilla, Madlib. Kweli commands attention by delivering top-tier lyricism, crafting captivating stories, and showing the ability to rhyme over virtually any type of instrumental. In 2011, he founded Devotee Media, a record label and a platform for independent thinkers and doers. And in 2019, he launched his weekly podcast, People's Party with Talib Kweli. Tonight, we are also joined moderating this conversation by Daryl Robertson, JIE scholar at Columbia University studying African American history. He is especially interested in understanding how the Black Panther Party serviced Black communities during the late 1960s. He's a contributing writer for Salon, and his work has appeared in the Washington Post, USA Today, Ozzy XXL, Ebony, among many other publications. Eswan Books is our lovely book vendor for the evening. Purchase a copy via Eswan Books Online. I'll share that link momentarily. We also invite you to use the question and answer feature at the bottom of the screen to engage both of our conversationalists tonight. And with that, I turn the conversation over to Daryl. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you for that. What's up, Talib?
Peace. How you feeling? Thank you for that wonderful intro, Alexandra, and peace to everybody who's here joining the conversation.
What's up, bro? How you feeling, bro? First of all, how you doing? Everything good?
I am good. I am having a good weekend. I'm having a good time.
What's up? And congrats on the publication. How's the feedback been so far?
I've been having great feedback. I got great reviews, but beyond the great reviews, the feedback from the people, the feedback from people in my life who I talk about in the book has been wonderful, and the feedback from the fans has been wonderful.
That was up. So let's jump right into it. For the name of the book, Vibrate, a rap story, Talib Kweli's memoir. So of course you're a writer, but how did you approach writing the memoir versus like writing songs like for your album? Because you're telling in your songs, you're telling some of the same stories that you tell in the book. So how did you approach this, and like, can you compare and contrast writing the memoir?
Yeah, it was daunting. Writing rhymes comes second nature to me at this point. My brain thinks in couplets at this point. So writing rhymes is something that I'm very adept at and very confident in. But throwing my hat into the ring with other authors like, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, people who have told their story, Malcolm X, people who have told their story, and even my contemporaries like Jessica Care Moore and Asha Bendele, people like that, people I grew up with. Saul Williams, it reminds me of when I had to go on Def Poetry Jam, and when I first came out as an MC, I was always in the spoken word circles because myself and Yassine Bey and some of the people I was around, our rhymes were deeper than like a lot of the MCs around us at the time. So we found comfort in the spoken word scene. But by the time I became a professional musician, I was writing more with hooks and 16-bar verses. And when I got the opportunity to perform at Def Poetry Jam, it was nerve-wracking because I was like, are my bars to the level of the spoken word? And so I had the same feeling when I write in the book, because it's just a different skill set. And I have a great respect for writers, for literature, for people who are brave enough to tell their story and take the time to do that.
Facts, facts, facts. I know. Who is that? You named a list of writers, but who is that one? I know as far as MCing, Black Thought is your guy. That's your go-to MC. But as far
Yeah.
as writers, like who do you have like that one writer that's the man to you or woman that you look to?
I like the writing of Paulo Coelho, the guy who wrote
Yeah,
The Alchemist a lot.
yeah,
I like in particular. I'm not every single book, but Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison in particular. Malcolm X straight ahead writing style.
yeah.
My mother had a colleague at Medgar Evers College, a gentleman named Keith Gilliard. He wrote a book and I don't remember the name of it, but in his book he told the story of his life and then has social commentary in between the chapters. And so that's how I wrote my book in that style. I've
Yeah.
seen Ta-Nehisi Coates write in that style before. Ishmael Reed is another one from back in the day who was written in that style. But those are the ones that I could think of off the top of my head.
That's what's up. That what's up. What is it about Corey Paulo that you like? What is it about his writing that you like as far as style?
I like the way that he's able to talk about spirituality in a plain spoken way.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, he's a Catholic priest, right? So I'm not someone who's a religious person. I'm not Christian. I'm not Catholic. But the overlap, the Christian principles, if you're someone who's really walking in the path of Christ, um, compassionate Christians like a Reverend Barber, people like that, Cornel West, Reverend Sekou. These are people who are Christians, and I put Paulo Coelho in the same category. Pastors and people who spread the word of Christianity. But even though I'm not a Christian, the way in which they talk about compassion and the way in which they talk about Christianity, those principles sort of being practical in the world, I really like that.
That's what's up. So speaking of him, we're gonna keep on that. Santiago, of course, I've read The Alchemist. Santiago, he was on his journey. But speaking of spirituality, and we're speaking about Claude, you have a passage at the beginning of your book, which actually take it's in the title also, Vibrate, and where you said your mission was music was to vibrate like higher. And for me personally, I took that like as a spiritual sense. Like what to you, what does that mean to vibrate higher? And how do you know like when you are in that state, when you are vibrating higher?
Well, I mean, I talk about this early in the book, but the stage is like my church, and De La Soul with the song "Stakes is High."
Yeah.
Um, when they sampled Soul Power by James Brown and Maceo and them, and at the beginning, when you go see a De La Soul show, they'd be like, when we say vibe, we want y'all to say vibration. Stakes is high. Stakes is high. And that was the first tour I went on. So whenever we'd all get on stage together and do that. Pharaoh Monch, Common, De La, Bismarcky, all of us, High Tech. And I could literally feel the energy in the place, the vibrations in the place lifting up. Music helps you see colors that you didn't know were there. And the only way you do that is to be in the right space, to be in the right vibe. When I finished this book 4 years ago.
Wow.
When I first started it, that term, people my son's age were starting to say the word vibe a lot. Ty Dolla $ign had a record with Janae Echo. It's a vibe. When did that record come out?
It's a vibe. I want to say 2016, 2017.
Yeah, so that's around the time I finished the book. So I just started to notice that people were saying that word a lot. And I talk about that book that my sister Wisdom Salah gave me, where he talked about how vibrations affect vibration from music affect water. It book really hit me hard. And that's sort of a mantra for myself. It's sort of a self-actualization, like to make sure that I'm always trying to grow and change and get better than my base self. Pettiness is not a virtue. Jealousy is not a virtue. Fame is not a virtue. And these are all things that are in my life. In interactions, I try to move away from pettiness. I try to move away from ego. I try to move away from being jealousy and having hatred and so reminding yourself to think, to be on a higher vibration is the way for me to do that.
It's interesting you try to move away from ego because you also too you write like MCs and we're not just going to limit it to MCs but like artists period, but especially rappers, like they drive off ego. So how are you able, like, to with you being an MC over 20 years, like how are you able to keep that balance, to check out of
I mean,
that?
yeah, I'm very confident, and it's something. It's a phrase I always say. I don't have to pretend that I'm not me, just for you to feel more comfortable. Like I consider myself to not be a normal person. I consider myself to be an exceptional person. And so I understand my worth. I understand my value. I also understand my lane and when to stay in it and when to swerve out of it. I consider myself a general, but I also know when it's time to be a soldier. And the best generals know when it's time to be someone else's soldier. So I own my space proudly. I reclaim my time. I'm not the respectable Negro that you're looking for, and to paraphrase James Baldwin. But at the same time, I understand because of that. I understand that the best way to get to that place is to really, really be honest with yourself about what you have to offer, and try to offer it righteously, and try to offer it whether you think you're going to get a reward or not. Because I have this talent, because I have this passion, because I have this greatness inside of me, it would be selfish for me to not share with the world, and it would be hypocritical for me to not recognize it in others when I see it in other people.
Yeah, facts. Also, too, you talked about this was powerful. I thought that you're a man of many vices, and you don't trust people who don't have vices. Can you elaborate on that? Speak on that.
Um, yeah, I'm not someone who strives for perfection. Um, and I understand that this world is hard, and I understand that people have distractions, and people have fetishes, and people have habits, and people do what they. It's like the song "Get By." People do what they need to do to get by, and my experience is that nobody's perfect. Everyone has an Achilles heel. Everyone has something. Everyone has their kryptonite. And if you're someone who claims that you have no Achilles heel, if you're someone that claims that you have no kryptonite, if you're someone who claims that there's nothing in the world that makes you weaker, nothing in the world that is hard for you to resist, even, that you shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be participating in, even if you're someone who claims to be that, I think you're lying. I think you're lying, and that means I can't trust you. It doesn't mean that there's no good people in the world. There's plenty of good people, but the best people are honest with themselves about what their vices are.
Facts. So, did you learn anything new about yourself while constructing this book, man?
um, I don't know if I learned anything new, but it reinforced things that maybe I wasn't paying attention to as much. Um, I write when I was writing the book, I was in a legal battle with my ex manager Corey
Okay.
Smith, um, and I write compassionately about Corey in the book. I have a great amount of love and respect for Corey
Yeah,
Smith,
yeah,
but when I was turning the book in, I was in this legal battle with him, and so I was writing about him a lot. And so much so that my editor was like, "Yo, you gotta take some of these Corey bars out. Like you write about Corey too much," and that made me check myself because it made me realize that I can get hooked on a subject and sink my teeth into it and not necessarily always see the bigger picture. And so I
yeah,
learned that about myself in that moment. Um, uh, there are things that are traumatic for me,
yeah,
things that I've been through, relationship wise,
yeah,
industry wise, that I never processed
yeah.
um, until I had to go back and revisit them, writing them, and it was some of those things were hard to write.
Yes. And I know particularly your parents' divorce, which you spoke on this in your music also.
Hmm.
What was that? And you said like what was that? Have your parents having to read that? Like, did you have a conversation with them before and after the book
Wait, say that again. Say that again.
about your parents' divorce? Which you
Hmm.
touched on in the book. I could tell that was very traumatic for you. Before,
Hmm.
when your parents read that in the book, like, did you have a discussion with them before writing it and after the book came out? And if so,
Well,
how did that conversation go?
just to bless, just to my parents. They're such wonderful people. The way in which they handle their relationship is very adult. They
Yeah,
have a lot of respect for each other, and
yeah,
so a lot of that painful stuff of the divorce, that's old news in my family. Like we all do Christmas and Thanksgiving together. You know
good.
what I'm saying? Like it's no, as far as I can see, you know what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah,
good friends and there's no animosity. So those things were, those conversations we're just able to have honestly with each other. There's no type of issue.
okay, okay. Um, you're active on. Well, no, they suspended your Twitter account, but you're still active on social
Yes.
media. Like, what would you for white people who read this book? Like, what would you want a white person to get out of reading your story, reading this book?
Well, first, let me just address. I was suspended from Twitter, which I enjoyed Twitter, and the book was finished before I was suspended from Twitter. So you hear me talking very nicely about Twitter in the book. Um, but ever since then, I've been suspended from Twitter. Um, you know, my existence on Twitter is I will talk to anybody about anything. Well, it was that I would talk to anybody, and so if you challenge me, I'm gonna challenge you back. And I never most of the people that would challenge me would be white supremacists, neo Nazis, Proud Boy types, and I became known for combating those types on Twitter. Um, but every once in a while, people from our community would challenge me, and
Yeah,
I got into an argument with a young lady where she had attacked women in my family, and she had spread lies that I had raped a 14-year-old child and all this type of stuff. And then I got doxxed. People was calling my phone with death threats and sending me messages about my kids and my mom and all that. And
yeah,
so I posted one of these messages containing these death threats, but I neglected to remove the phone number. And so that's a serious violation on Twitter.
yeah,
So I want to get that straight because the narrative is that I got suspended on Twitter for stalking this young lady, which,
yeah,
if you look at who I am, if you look at my work, if you look at my words, you will know that's not true. That's not who I am at all. Now, as far as white people, I really don't care. You know what I'm saying? I really don't care. You know, I have a lot of white people in my life I love and respect, who are my allies and my friends and my family. If I were to say that it's proof that I don't hate white people because I have white people in my life, that'd be cap. That wouldn't be accurate. Just my proximity to white people does not prove I do not hate white people,
yeah,
and vice versa.
yes,
White people who hang out with black people, they proximity to people of color does not prove that they are not racist people. Um, and so I know that the white people who are allies to me, the white people who are my fans, the white people who are my supporters, I know that they roll with me and they support this pro-blackness. I know that they are unconcerned with centering their feelings, and I know that they are blessed to have this insight from me and people like me. I know that because that's what it takes to be a good ally, and I love and appreciate my white brothers and sisters who go out of their way to educate their white brothers and sisters, because as we know, brother, like, the onus is always put on us to
yeah,
change the situation, to fix things, to educate the people. But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. The people who benefit the most from racism should be the ones to speak out against it the most. And yeah, I could care less with really anybody. You know what I'm saying? Besides my friends and my family, but I love when I receive the love from the people who relate to my story.
yeah, 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 yeah. So what to you, to Talib Kweli, like what does like what do white allies look like on a holistic scale as far as like the struggle that we're in as black people? Like, what to Talib, what does a white ally look like in a perfect world?
Actually, Macklemore gave a very good answer uh, to this question on my show People's Party, and I took that clip and put it on my profile. But it's listening, it's investing in Black communities, but mostly it's really just listening and following the lead of people who actually do the work. And when I say listening and following the lead, that doesn't mean that your voice is worthless. Um, that just means, like, if you have an opinion, you might want to keep it to yourself until you vet it with your own circle. Um, like allowing Black people the space to be wrong, allowing Black people the space to not always having our shit together, allowing Black people to be righteously angry, allowing Black people to be like, man, I'm sick and tired of these white motherfuckers, without being like, wait, I'm white, why you talking about me? Like, allowing us the time and the space to have this righteous anger and to not always be perfect and academically correct in the way in which we process our trauma. And yeah, just like, yeah, yeah, that would be my answer.
All right. So let's dig into this book a little bit, bro. So when I read the book, well, when I sent it my review, I centered it on the Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism rather. That was my favorite, like, theme throughout your memoir. So
Okay.
what I want to ask is, inside of your home, your parents are partly responsible for the Pan-Africanism in you that comes out in your music.
Mm-hmm.
They were part of that culture, the 60s and 70s,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. So, like, inside of your home, like, what was it like as far as consuming the Pan-Africanism, Black cultural nationalism inside of your home? Like, what was the average day like when it came to?
Well, first, just being first, we start with the names. Talib Kweli Green, Jamal Kwame Green, having those names um, was very important. African art on the wall was very important. My parents were uh, very involved in anti-apartheid stuff. So
Yeah,
listening to speeches by Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela, and understanding that this struggle exists outside of our borders.
yeah,
Growing up reading about Malcolm X, reading about Fannie Lou Hamer, reading about Martin Luther King, reading about Sojourner Truth, um, you know, uh, all of that stuff is very important. And the fact that my parents are educators, I'm privileged and blessed with a lot of educational privilege.
yeah. Did you think, listen to you talk now, did you think you getting that information inside of your home has something to do with you not really like caring for a traditional academic setting as far as what you cutting school down?
Absolutely, it was a gift and a curse. My parents, they taught me to look beneath the surface.
Yeah,
They taught me to never accept things as they are, but to look for a way for things to be better. And I think that bit them in the ass a little bit, because that's exactly what I did.
yeah.
And I would ask them questions, and I would question the system earlier than I was supposed to.
Hmm. You have this Stokely Carmichael. What I love about Stokely Carmichael, um, he had this quote where he was very intent on action as opposed to theory when it came to Black nationalism or Pan Africanism. And
Mhm.
I always question, like, all of us, like, we're there's this struggle going on within the Black community, but it seems like we have to be like part of these systems that are designed to keep us down. And for instance, we could talk about your brother. Your brother, he was a student at Yale. I'm a student at
Mhm.
Columbia. But these systems, and I could go on
Right.
and on and on. And even you getting a record deal. Like,
Mhm.
but all of these systems, they let us into these systems, but these systems were designed like to keep us down. So it makes me wonder, it's like, okay, they are making it seem like we're making progress, but we're
Mhm.
really not, because like people are still getting murdered, like there's still
Mhm.
homeless Blacks. Like, how do you think we can counter that, like, as Black people, like what steps can be done, and even
Well,
with, go ahead.
yeah, I think that I don't try to I don't think that we're going to win this battle or see the end of this battle in our lifetime.
Right.
I just don't. I'm a realist. I'm an optimist because I'm an artist, but I'm also a realist. I think as you're creating art, you kind of have to be an optimist. Um, but I my goal is to make life easier for people who are going through it, and to provide examples for the future. I don't see it as we have to have this victory right now. Um, I see it as our job is to make it easier for the people who are going through it, and to show examples. I'm looking in at my life through the scope of history.
Yes. 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 Oh, I thought you were gonna keep going. I thought you were gonna
Oh yeah, no, 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 no.
keep- So I'm gonna stay in the book in your childhood a little bit. So
Mhm.
there was one time you was the atheist when you was what 13, 14
Like
years old.
14.
14. Like, do you remember like the situations or a few of the situations that like led you up to that point, or
Um, yeah, reading Malcolm X helped bring me back out of that. But this just we are aware of more information. I watched Henry Louis Gates did a thing on PBS about the Black Church that I watched recently. Did you see it?
yeah. No, I didn't see it, but I'm familiar with it.
Right. At the end of it, they talk about, sort of the Black Lives Matter generation, and they have pastors on there talking about how the kids don't want to hear that praying anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and this is not a new thing. When the Dr. King documentary that came out on HBO a few months ago that dealt with the last year of his life,
hmm
there was footage of him going to Watts right after the Watts riot, and he was talking, and the people were like, man, we don't want to hear that, and yeah, I just think that the stories in Sunday school, the stories in the Bible, when you're not sophisticated enough to understand that these are parables, no one's explaining that to you. You're expected to take these stories at face value. You're expected to believe that a burning bush really exists. You're
yeah,
expected to believe, there's no scientific explanation given to you for this. And you're not even taught that, well, science is the search for the unknown as well. Um, it's not even possible for a lot of people to understand that science and spirituality can coexist. Um,
yeah.
and so all those things were floating through my head when I was 14, and I was just questioning the state of the world. I remember seeing the Cold War. I remember seeing Christy McAuliffe getting that space on the Challenger and blow up in our faces when we were kids.
Yeah.
I remember walking in my neighborhood, couldn't walk down the street without stepping on a crack vial.
Yeah. Facts.
And without having the socio-economic, historical lessons for these things, I start being like, yo, I don't see how God could possibly exist. But reading Malcolm X, having children, seeing a child be born,
Yeah.
understanding how science explains how things are. Science gives you the scientific method, but we don't know why human beings create art. There's certain just spiritual things. There's certain biological things. When we breathe in oxygen, we blow up carbon dioxide, and the trees do the opposite, and we live off each other. And that's God to me. You know, it, that's what I'm interested. I'm interested in connecting the spiritual with the scientific.
So like exactly what about like what exactly about Malcolm? Like what was it
About Malcolm,
that brought you out of that? Was it like what exactly was it that he did or didn't do or what he said or wrote?
he 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 became godly. He came from. He was supposed to die. He was supposed to be a statistic. All roads led to peril and destruction for him, and it was his faith in God that sort of helped him. And he had a very plain, making it plain. Same thing with Paulo Coelho, making it plain. And reading Malcolm didn't make me want to be Muslim.
Yeah.
It didn't make me want to join the Nation of Islam or become some sort of Muslim, but it made me understand that okay, there's a higher calling, something that connects all human beings,
Yeah.
and that's what Malcolm was trying to get to. And so I was very inspired by that. And the fact that he was able to achieve it. I look at Malcolm the same way that I look at the prophets, the same way people talk about Jesus and Abraham. I look at Martin Luther King and Malcolm like that.
Yeah, facts. You and your shirt, and I looked reading your book, and like it definitely coincides with your music, but there's a lot of freedom talk in your music, and I connected that to your to you trying to educate yourself as opposed to being educated into inside of a classroom. Like I connected that like to freedom, and a lot of people think some of the story we've heard before, like when you cut school, like you wasn't just like cutting school like doing dumb shit, like you was like.
Mhm.
So explain like some of the stuff that you would do like when you would cut school, as far as educating yourself.
Um, when I cut school, it was very popular. X-Clan was out, Poor Righteous Teachers was out. KRS-One was talking about I'm a humanist and heal and all that stuff. And so the music and the culture and everything was it's a black thing you can't understand. And the Malcolm X movie was out. Like I remember cutting school to go see the Malcolm X movie. Um, the being about your culture was trendy and it was popular, and that's what the in thing to do was. I wanted to be like the Native Tongues, I wanted to be like Public Enemy and Jungle Brothers. And so when I cut school, it wasn't to be ratchet. It wasn't to. I mean, we drank 40s and I ended up smoking weed and all that, but it was always like, nah, we gonna read these books. We gonna get this knowledge. That was fun to us.
Yeah, yeah. And what else was you reading besides Malcolm X? What else was you reading during those days?
Um, Iceberg Slim,
Iceberg Slim.
Donald Goines,
Right.
stuff like that. But uh, Black Panther, so Dick Gregory, Soul on Ice, Revolutionary Suicide, Black Panthers type of stuff. And there was no context because a lot of that stuff was very outdated by the time I read it.
Yeah.
The language and the things they were talking and the politics was a little outdated, but I romanticized about that at those eras. I wished I could live in the 60s.
And did it take you a while? I know '88 was a big year for you personally, and as far as hip hop with the Big Daddy Kane's. And I don't remember who else came. Well, I wasn't even of age during that time, but '88 was like a really big year for you personally, like in hip hop. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of times people start rapping, usually they just putting words together, rhyming. But with you incorporating this literature into your conscience, like was it hard for you to transfer that type of consciousness into your music? Like what was that process like going from just like spitting bars to incorporating that content into your music?
It wasn't hard at all. I mean, it just that gave me my voice. Before that, I was just another rapper. I say in the book, before Biggie, Nas was a rapper that married the street life with the knowledge. And after Nas, Biggie came out.
Yeah.
Biggie was like the first rapper that we all as hip hop fans heard and was like, okay, he may be the best in the world. But he was the first rapper that we considered to be the best without having any real conscious songs. Before Biggie, that had never been a thing.
Yeah.
You had to have a conscious record because Big Daddy Kane, Melly Mel, Rakim. The only two exceptions to that rule was Slick Rick. Not even Slick Rick because he had Hey Young World, so I can't even say Slick Rick. It was LL.
LL. What about Run DMC?
Run DMC had Hard Times.
Yeah. Okay.
LL didn't really have. LL is a goat. LL is in the running for best of all time, but he at that time in his career he didn't really have any records that were about the community. He was more about getting them girls and ladies love and all that. Like Wise Intelligent, Brother J, Rakim, Chuck D, KRS-One. When I was coming up, those was the best. And then after Biggie, it became the tough guy era. Jay-Z became the best. Like who the best? Jay-Z, DMX, Jadakiss, Beanie Siegel. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember this time when people thought Beanie Siegel was the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
It became like the drug dealing coke raps. But then that shifted. You got to the era of the Kendrick and the J. Cole's. It shifted back to where it's like you had to have a little bit of consciousness to be considered top tier. Jay Electronica, Chance the Rapper, people like that. Now that's who considered the best. Like you have to have that knowledge, Rhapsody, all that.
Facts. one thing I noticed that you did on the book. I don't know if this was purpose or this is what I'm asking. Like we saw, we saw the struggle in you um, pursuing a record deal, and eventually came. But you also the way you wrote and told your story of the processes and the road bump that you went through to securing your first record deal is almost kind of like you knew that it was going to happen. It wasn't like I didn't see you writing like, man, like I may want to get it sub. This isn't working out. Like I didn't really get that. It's almost kind of like you knew from the time you started listening to hip hop as a little kid, like you knew that it was going to happen. And I took that. That's why you were so adamant and like, man, F school. Like this is what is going to happen.
Right. Well, there was some difficult moments. I talk about trying to get a job and doing some like illegal stuff, but that was like a couple of months. That was a couple of months of, oh, maybe this. I gotta have a fallback plan. But then what changed that was getting my girlfriend pregnant. When Darcel got pregnant, all that having a fallback plan, like I definitely understood the value in that. But when she got pregnant, it was like, okay, either I gotta make it now or never make it. And I credit my children with putting that battery in my back.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you remember the last time we talked, but like I believe things come full circle, and I thought it was so dope, bro. Like how your parents met at NYU.
Mm-hmm.
NYU was very instrumental in you honing your rap skills. Um, Led to you getting a record deal with Raucous Records. And at the end of the book, you question, and I don't think you questioned with the Jay Z line. If his skills told truthfully, I be Talib Kweli. You asked that question. Like, did I go the wrong route? Did I go the wrong route as far as like not securing the dollars when talking about X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z? But I wanna share something as far as coming full circle with that particular quote that you wrote.
Okay.
How we were talking earlier before we started recording of how Nas has been very instrumental um and the things that I'm pursuing. Nas and Wu Tang. But when I was listening to some of your older music, you've always been part of that circle also. And the reason I use Nas because he had like this, not saying that you aren't street, but he had like a different type of street aspect to it. And I think your music is important because like people like Nelson Mandela, Sonia Sanchez, um, a lot of these people that you named and had on your album, a lot of kids like us.
Actually, that was Dave Chappelle's Mandela.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
Yeah, that's Dave Chappelle doing a Mandela impersonation.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
bro.
we can replace Mandela with Dave Chappelle because that means Dave Chappelle was on that album back in the day.
Okay. Well, you had the Sonia Sanchez. My first time hearing about Sonia was from you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, I know that was Fred Hampton on the. You have Fred Hampton on there?
Fred Hampton Jr. Fred Hampton Jr. is on. He's on a recording. I'm not sure which album it is, but he's in Block Party.
Yes. So like it's stuff like that as far as for me in my personal life, where I took those names, those people that I've heard for the first time, and I built on that. I'm like, yo, I've heard a Sanchez from the Talib album. Let me get these poems. Let me get these poems and see what it's about and see what it's about. So like that part, and that's why people like you, people like Most Def, is why that music is important because you guys give us a different. There's so many layers like to Black culture, to Black history, and sometimes like MCing, we look it up to y'all like that's the blueprint for people like us to like to build on. So I just wanted to say that, and if you want to elaborate, you can elaborate.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. When I stand on the shoulders of my ancestors, I love the fact that I'm connected to the Black arts movement. I love the fact that you can draw a direct line from the last poets, like Gil Scott Heron, to Sonia Sanchez and Jane Cortez, to Nkiru Books, to Talib Kweli and Black Star. I love the fact that that my book, when you the people who gave me the quotes for the book are Sonia Sanchez, Chuck D, and Common. I love this. This is this is what I'm supposed to be doing. My brother Jamal Green, he's got a book coming out this year too. I love the fact that the Green brothers, the Green boys, can do this for our mother and our father. That they could be like both of our children have stories to tell that are important. I love that I can go to the White House. You know, when I went to meet Obama, and bring my grandmother to meet Obama. And when I meet Obama, he's talking to me about my brother.
Yeah.
How much respect he has for my brother. This means that I'm incredibly highly favored. I'm very blessed. I'm very privileged. I've lived an amazing life, and I try to use my platform and use all this privilege, whether it's inherited or earned, to try to tell other stories. That's why it's very important for my book to not just be my story, but to be the story of Corey Smith, who I talk about his history. Yeah. To be the story of Yassine Bey. Yeah. To be the story of Madlib. To be the story of Jay Dilla. To be the story of Jean Grey and Kendra Ross and Jessica Campbell and all the wonderful, talented, powerful women as been Black women in particular that have been in my life. I don't look at it as just my story.
Facts. Yo, on another note, bro, it literally just hit me when you said in Kuru books, yo, on the song on Miss Hill, you was like on the song Miss Hill, so that's off the radio. What song is Miss Hill on? What album is that on? Miss
that's on Right About Now.
Right About Now. So the song is about Lauryn Hill. So you was like, it just hit me. You was like, her mom's was the customer. She's the Loved by the Books by Octavia Butler. So right. Like that that literally just hit me. Was that a true?
Yeah.
A true story, bro.
Yeah. When the Fugees was recording this album.
Hold on, time out. Like explain to them exactly what I'm talking about because I didn't really get it. So
yeah. So I used to work at Kuru when the Fugees was recording the Score album. Myself and John Forte used to hang out, particularly with Lauren a lot. Lauren Hill used to come, Miss Hill used to come to Brooklyn. She used to come to Kuru Books. She had to be 18, 19 at this time. She would come from East Orange, New Jersey to Brooklyn, driving her mother's car. And she picked me up and we go to Boys and Girls High School to go to African Street Festival. We go see Dr. Francis Cress Welsing speak. We do stuff like that on our spare time. And Lauren, when the Fugees started to blow a little bit, Lauren would always make time when she came to New York to come to Kuru Books. And she would put her mother on to the bookstore. So her mother came to Kuru Books. And Octavia Butler's, I think it's Parable of the Sower. The main character's name is Lauren.
Is Lauren.
Yeah, the main character of that book is Lauren. And I say that in that song. And I told her mother that. I said, get this book. The main character's name is Lauren. And she loved it. And then she would come back and buy all the Octavia Butler stuff.
Okay. So it's time for the transition into a Q&A. But before we do that transition to the Q&A from the audience, is there anything else that you want to add, Talib, that we didn't touch on?
No, Daryl, I mean, I really love and appreciate your review. That, throughout my career, I've always read reviews. I've even reviewed reviews of me before. And I love it. I don't expect a review to coddle me. I don't expect it to be lovey-dovey. Hopefully it's not biased. I expect it to be fair. And I've read reviews that were negative about my work, where people had negative things to say, but they were fair. You know what I'm saying? And your review wasn't negative at all. It was glowing, and I feel like you were very fair, and you were very, very passionate in your review about my book.
Well, fam, I definitely appreciate that, bro. I really appreciate that a lot. That I'm just sharing my gifts with the world. So I'm gonna pick out a couple of these questions for you. So one question is how did having parents that are professors and being a bookstore owner impact your skill level as an MC? And these are questions.
When I started working at Inkiru Books, having access to those books greatly impacted my skill. I worked at a wait, hold on for a second. Sorry about this. I worked at Shakespeare Company Books first, and that helped me. But standing on the shoulders of those ancestors, like building on those titles, learning the different sort of cliques and crews within the Black literary space. Like, what did the Black nationalists talk about? What did the history professors talk about? What did the feminists talk about? What about the LGBTQ writers talk about? What about the young adult writers? How about what's up with these romance novels? You know what I'm saying? Like understanding that we're not a monolith. Was very important.
All right, so I have another question. This is from Elliot Cowley. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He's a counselor in Brownsville for the past 7 years at an all boys school, and he's asking you: is there any advice for a young artist, particularly a young male artist, attempting to make it in today's ever-changing music scene?
Do you be your own person? Pay attention to the trends, but don't follow them. Find your own voice. Listen to your own voice. Tell your own stories.
Okay. And one more question. This is from anonymous. They want to know, what are you reading right now?
Oh man, I wish I could have read more, but I just started King Leopold's Ghost.
Okay.
And I'm excited about getting into that. But I haven't read a book in a long time. That's why I was like, now that my book's out, I'm like, man, I can't tell people to read books, and I'm not reading my book. I'm not reading. I need to read. I'm not reading a book.
All right, so we're gonna do one more, bro. I saw your son give amazing. What are 3 values you imparted to your son that made his rap so connected to history and so poignant?
Wow, that's a great question. Shout out to my son, Amani Fela. My son is he's more than a rapper. I learned from him. I learned from him. My son is a better rapper at his age than I was at his age. I think, with all due respect to his mother, I think it's both of us. I think he gets it from both of us.
So you didn't discourage him from being in the rap game, bro?
I tried to discourage him a little bit, not so much for being in the rap game, but you don't want your children to have the problems that you had, and it's like this shit is hard.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying? It's not this life of an artist, it's not an easy life. Yeah. So I want my son to have an easier life, but I mean, he loves music, and I can't blame him. I mean, I took him around on the road. His father's a rapper. Like, he's seen so much that my daughter too. My daughter, my kids are such incredible musicians, man. I'm so proud of them.
Okay, so here's a dope question. They just told me we still got time for a couple more.
Okay. I love the question. I love the questions from the audience.
So this one, they were asking, how has writing the book and diving into your own past made you think differently about what you want to put into the world for the future?
I want to write a new book immediately. Remember, I said I finished it 4 years ago, and I turned it in a couple years ago. My life has changed so much. I'm still growing as a person. My fundamentals haven't changed. Who I am as a person, like my morals and my principles haven't changed. But I've had life experiences. I've learned more things. I was reading the book, parts of the book today, little sentences, things I could have worded. Yeah. I'm like, I've learned more things. Yeah. You as a writer, you sound like you can relate to that. Yeah. You probably read work from a year ago and be like, man, I could have did that sentence way better than that. Knowing what I know now. That's what made it hard to turn the book in, because I was still living my life. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I wanted it to be perfect. But again, that's why you can't strive for perfection.
So you said you want to write a new book. If you was to start,
Yes.
if you were to start a new book next week, what like what direction would you go in?
Man, I would do a chapter. I would do a chapter on cancel culture. I would do a chapter called Notes on How to Get Canceled. That'd be the first chapter. How to get canceled with
Okay,
grace.
so speaking of that, like what do you
You
think
know,
about this cancel culture, yo? Like it's to me it's corny, but that's just me. What
I
do
mean,
you
look, they've been trying to cancel me the whole time, brother. They've been trying to cancel me the whole time. Look, um, I'll give you the woke progressive answer. Um, and then I'll give you the real answer. The woke progressive answer is that there is no such thing as cancel culture.
That's
The
facts.
woke progressive answer is that we have to hold people accountable. And when society grows and changes, there's going to be growing pains. And maybe some people who are innocent might get or members of oppressor groups. Like there might be men who are blamed for stuff that's not their fault, but we might have to just take that on the chin because we've been benefiting from the society so much. And so I do believe in that mentality, and I do agree with that thing. But I will say that the people too often, the people who are so woke and so progressive that they feel like they can say anything about anybody, um, who say that they don't participate in cancel culture, a lot of them spend their entire time trying to pin people to things that they've said or done, and it's not based on anything other than projection. It's not based on you feeling bad about something that you have maybe said or done. Um, the whole idea of when you cancel something, you don't bring it back. It's like throwing something in the garbage. And I'm not down with throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Cornel West is a hero of mine. He said and done things in the last 3-4 years that I'm like, yo, bro, you tripping, bro. You tripping. But that's Cornel West, brother. Like we don't gotta agree on everything. I ain't throwing that brother away. Ice Cube, we could talk as we could. I mean, Kanye West is a little bit more complicated because I have a close personal relationship with Kanye West, but I feel like it was my duty as his friend to speak out against his support of Donald Trump. But you were never going to hear me saying I was never going to cancel Kanye. But because of how drastic his statements was and how harmful they were, if someone were to say, Kanye's canceled as far as I'm concerned, I can't fuck with Kanye. What he's saying is too harmful, then I don't have a critique for that. I can't tell you don't have the right to cancel Kanye. I just know that for me, so I think I say that to say that it's subjective and it's contextual. So and we also have to vet our sources. We have to make sure that when we're talking about canceling people, that we're talking about canceling. I'm gonna go into the weeds here. I'm gonna take a chance here. I'm gonna say something risky. Because I feel like we all family here, right? We all God's children here on this call. It's a brother Nate Parker, I believe his name is. Nate Parker, the actor.
The actor.
His brother did a movie on Nat Turner.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the movie, I enjoyed it. The movie tanked and flopped because when the movie came out, there was a campaign to cancel Nate Parker because he was accused of rape when he was in college. The person he was accused of raping, they went to court. He came out victorious. So he went to court, he came out victorious. Now we all know that the system is designed to protect men. And particularly if he's an athlete at that school, which I think he was on the wrestling team or something. Like there's a certain amount of privilege that we can't ignore when it comes to that. So even though he was found not guilty, it don't mean he didn't do it. But the fact is that he was found not guilty, right? Yeah. So this brother went through this thing. He was found not guilty, was able to come from this and make a career, fantastic film career, until this situation where he's making a Nat Turner film. Now, the movement to cancel him was led by people in our community. But this is what I think we missed. The people who did the article on him that exposed his past with that court case it was Breitbart.com. It's a Breitbart.com article. Breitbart.com is a neo-Nazi white supremacist website. I don't want to mince words here. I don't want to. That's what it's a neo-Nazi white supremacist website run by Steve Bannon, who's the Nazi who ran Donald Trump's campaign. Now, whether or not, if our source for information on a Black man is Breitbart.com, then maybe we should examine and vet our sources a little bit better. Doesn't mean that he's innocent. I wasn't there. I can't say whether or not the brother was innocent or not, but I feel like if it's not a white supremacist source, the story would have been reported with more nuance and more of the facts would have been in the story. But we take from Alex Jones and Breitbart.com, and we take from Tucker Carlson, and we take from these right-wing propaganda sources, and that's where people come with George Soros has funded Black Lives Matter. No, he's not. You got that off a Nazi website. You know what I'm saying? So when people try to come at me most of your information that you're getting is from white supremacist sources. And so that's the only thing I have to say about cancel culture. It's like we have to hold each other accountable. We got to. We got to be better as human beings to each other. People who come from privileged groups, men, straight men, Americans, able-bodied people, whatever group of privilege you're in, we all got to do better to help the marginalized. But let's vet our sources and let's look at each other as a community. You know, let's protect everyone in the community.
Okay, so but I'm gonna say one thing about this, and then we got time for like one or two more questions. But I think this whole cancel culture thing is super corny. For one, like you're not gonna cancel like if your uncle do something, if your brother do something, like you're not going to cancel like your brother, you're not going to cancel your uncle, you're not going to cancel your cousin you grew up with, because we all have people, we've done things, we all have people in our family that have done horrible things, but you don't cancel them. You like your son, like that was fucked up what you did, X, Y, and Z, and like we're going to do this, we're going to fix it, move forward, put that behind us. Like that's how we move in our personal lives. Another thing too, when I actually just wrote about this, bro, like especially with social media, bro, like everybody pretends like they know everything, son. Like, and my G, like you don't, bro. Like like the stuff that we know or the stuff that we think we know, bro, is so small, minuscule compared to what we don't understand. So like this whole cancel culture thing, that's why I believe is super corny because people, you're not as smart. None of us, you, me, none of us, we're not as smart as we think we are, bro. Like period.
Right.
All right, so we got time for like one more question. Some want to know what's up with the project with Diamond D.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Diamond D, legendary hip hop producer. I'm very excited about the project. It's called Gotham. We've dropped a song that's on Spotify and it's on all the streaming called On Mamas. We dropped a video for it. I'm very excited about this. The fact that I've been able to in my career do a whole project for High Tech, Mad Lib, Ninth Wonder, Styles P, Most Def, and now Diamond D. Man, I just feel like what else could I ask for? And I feel so blessed and honored for the love that I get from the fans for when I do these type of projects.
What's up? What's up? Talib, bro, it was dope chopping it up with you again, man.
Yeah, this was beautiful. I want to shout out to Eswan Bookstore and all the independent Black bookstores. I'm an independent Black bookseller myself, and so I consider you y'all my brothers and my sisters. You can get the book anywhere, but make sure that if you can, try to support independent Black bookstores like Eswan. And yeah.
All right, cool. And again, bro, congrats. I'm sorry, congrats on the publication, bro, and keep up the inspiring work that you put out. All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both for this really insightful conversation. Of course, please do follow Talib online. And of course, do purchase the book via S1 Books, via our local Black book vendor here in Los Angeles. Always love to support and work with them. Talib has a set following this, I believe directly following this.
Yeah. Tiffany D. Lofton, activist, super powerful sister. She is leaving her position at NAACP, so she's celebrating her next move. So if you go to Tiffany D. Lofton's IG page, and I believe starting right now, I'm going to do a set in a few minutes, but she's telling you about her transition. But oh yeah, we going jam.
All right, so perfect way to celebrate the new work and to end our night. Please do check out that DJ set. Talib, Daryl, thank you both for your brilliance and your contributions. Congratulations on the book again. Everybody be safe, be wealthy, be well, be healthy. And we look forward to seeing you all.
Don't be scared of being wealthy either.
Don't be scared to be wealthy. There we are. Everybody have a great night. Be well. Thanks again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank y'all.